Hello everyone, my name is Ricardo and welcome to my channel. I am so happy to have you all here again. Are you guys ready for fun learning time? Well, let's get to it. Today we are going to be talking about IDEs and variables. In my last video I talked about my channel and what programming is, but I didn't mention about the tools and environment that we are going to be using to do programming. This is where we are starting. Nowadays, the most basic environment that you can use to build code is command line interface. The command line interface, or CLI, is a text-based user interface, or UI, used to run programs, manage computer files, and interact with the computer. If you have watched the original movie of The Matrix, you will recognize what I'm talking about. Since back then, when the movie was made, CLI was the way to go. Command line interfaces are also called console user interfaces and character user interfaces. CLI accepts simple commands that are entered by the keyboard. The commands invoked at the command prompt are then run by the computer. In many programming classes, you may be taught of how to use CLI to build code and do programming, but for the most part, you may be instructed to install a special environment to help you work. This is where IDEs come into play. An IDE, or Integrated Development Environment, enables programmers to consolidate the different aspects of writing a computer program. Most IDEs not only have an autocomplete function that makes writing code easy, but while we'll take multiple steps on CLI, the IDE will make things much faster and also efficient. I'm going to be using some of the different IDEs for every programming language I showcase, so it will be up to you which one to go with. In the next part of the video, I will be showing the IDEs I use as well as talk about the first topic for you, variables. Now, to start things off, I will be answering the main questions at hand. What are variables? Variables are the names you give to the computer memory locations which are used to store values in a computer program. These values can range from the number 0 all the way beyond the entire text of your favorite book. Confused? Let me give you an analogy. Imagine that the values are like drops of water. By themselves, they will just fall onto the ground and make a mess. We need to store it somewhere. The variable will be like the bucket that we will use to store the water/value. Next time that we want to use the value, we will just check the variable. And we can do that as many times as we want, because checking the variable will not erase its contents. So basically, you can check the variable again and again. Now that I have explained to you what a variable is, I will explain the basic types of variables that exist. Keep in mind there are more types, which will be mentioned in future videos. Something important to know is that basic types of variables in one language may not be the same in another one. The first language that we will be tackling will be Java. Now, the IDE that I'm using right now is called Eclipse. The variable creation process is basically the same across languages. First, you put the type indicator, and then you put the variable name. This is the declaration of a variable. This time the variable is created and there is no value inside. We then put a value into it. by putting the variable name, followed by the equal sign symbol, and then the value that we're going to store. This process is called initialization. You can combine both processes in one single line. It is up to you. As you can notice, every line of code that I mentioned ends with a semicolon symbol, which becomes a requirement to indicate to the compiler where the line ends. There are some extra areas in the code in front of you, but for now we're just going to focus on this section. Right here, the main basic variable types are integer, which stores numbers without decimal places; double, which stores numbers with decimal places. The next type is boolean, which stores two possible values, either true or false. String is the next one, and this one is able to store text. And last, we got the character variable, being able to store a single string character. Now there are more variable types in this language, but these are the main ones. I will be expanding on this topic on a future video, so if you don't want to miss it, hit the subscribe button. And if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button. Now you may be wondering, what is this section in green right here? This is what is known as a comment, which is simply a note within the code. These notes are put there as reminders and explanations for anyone looking at the code. In Java, a comment is done by typing two / symbols so that anything after it on the same line will be treated as a comment. Now moving on from Java, we're going to proceed to another language. This one is known as C++, which is yet another powerful and fun programming language. Now you are going to see that variable declaration and initialization looks just the same as with Java, but you will notice that there is no string type. This is because to be able to create one, you need to do some extra steps, which will be explained in a future video, so stay tuned. Finally, I'm going to show off one more language. This one has been known as being very user-friendly, Python. As you see on the code here, there are multiple differences. First of all, lines don't end with semicolons, which is completely normal. And second of all, the variable type indicators when declaring a variable are not there. The way it works in Python is that the variable becomes the type of data you put into it. In other languages, if you try to put a value that doesn't match the type of variable, you will get an error. But in Python, the variable types will be changed. So that makes it easier to use and very helpful. Another difference that Python has from Java and C++, as well as other languages, is the way you make a comment. Instead of using /, you use the pound sign or the number sign. But essentially, the comments in every single language you can think of work the same way, just as reminders and notes for anyone that looks at the code to understand it. Before we finish this lesson, do you know that the name of the language Python doesn't come from the Python snake? The truth is that the creator, Guido van Rossum, is a big fan of Monty Python's Flying Circus, a BBC comedy series from the 1970s. Who would have thought? Well, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful on your learning journey, and stay tuned for more videos covering the basics of coding. I'll see you guys next time. Good night.